course, I just am so thankful that it says lands there, and it's not
in
like
English.
in English.
So it looks like we've got a pretty solid 7 from our lands pilot. I saw Mox Diamond as well as a couple lands. However, it looks like there's only a 1-lander here for the Grixis pilot, which is pretty clunky because it's a Bloodstained Mire, which doesn't fetch a basic island, so you could get wasted really, really easily. So you got to fetch an Underground Sea to play some of these cantrips.
Absolutely, and we're seeing Mox Diamond as well as the fetch getting fired off right away. And I wonder if this is just going to be straight off the bat, live from the loam, getting going for our lands player.
Yeah, just kind of reset some of the card advantage that he lost by playing that Mox Diamond. So now he's kind of trading that tempo back in for extra resources.
Mm-hmm. Now, critically, I guess he hasn't. We don't know if he has exploration or not. But if he plays live from the loam here, it's going to be a very big signal. And it looks like it's either live from the loam or Sylvan Library.
It looks like the loam coming down this turn.
Yeah.
Can we get some Japanese commentary, please? Sadly, not from the stream, but if you watch the VODs, they didn't have Japanese casters, so that's what you're into.
EW Landon, if you want some Japanese commentary, what I could do is I can translate what they're saying in Japanese to English.
Really asking the honest questions.
Absolutely, asking what's important here, and Utah going to go ahead and grab that Underground Sea, and of course we both know that that's very vulnerable to Wasteland, which Toru's got 4x of. So
yeah, and that's really one of the pain spots about having that Bloodstained Mire is actually specifically in this matchup, trying to fetch a basic island to cast your cantrips is not really something you can do. So it looks like a Preordain on 1, digging for lands here for Utah. Looks like no dice there. Baleful Strix and Kolaghan's Commands are the cards found. 2 staples of this deck, but both of them cost more than the number of lands he has, so those are getting shipped to the gulag.
Yeah, that's a snap double bottom, and if you're Utah and you didn't draw a land, you're just thinking like, please don't flip over Wasteland. Please don't flip over Wasteland here.
There's a Rishadan port, which is not activatable this turn. Oh, there's a Wasteland though.
That sucks.
And this might be a quick game. This might be a fast one.
Oh, right in the gut. Man. And mana problems already for Utah.
Yep. Oh, basic island off the top. It's a good place to start.
We're in business.
Yeah, Utah really wanted to fetch that last turn, but the Bloodstained Mire tax just a little too high. So Volcanic Island and a Lightning Bolt are the cards. And now, because Toru's already set up the Wasteland lock, duels are not super exciting in this scenario, so you're really digging for fetch lands or basics, in my opinion. I might bottom that. I might say that even though I need land, this isn't the land I need.
Yeah, and it looks like Utah's going to go ahead and agree with you. The one thing I will say is if you do play your Volcanic Island there, you still are on land drop parity, technically. So if he had like a 2-drop spell that he wanted to cast, maybe.
Yeah, that's one way of looking at it. This does allow Toru to set up the Rishadan port activation rather than using this turn for a Wasteland. And a Swamp off the top is pretty fantastic for Utah here. He's going to be able to fire off a Thoughtseize if he wants to. Probably knows there's not a lot of action here. Anything exciting would have been played already. Or might be played in response. I'm guessing this might be a crop rotation coming down for Toru.
Yeah, it certainly smells like it as well. But yeah, it's just the lands that were drawn from Utah are kind of lining up very well with what's going on from Toru.
Definitely. That first land having to be a duel is pretty painful. It's really not what you want to see in this matchup, but the double basics off the top has been pretty stellar. I wonder what Toru's going to get here. I might go after like a Ghost Quarter or something like that and say, you know what, I'm going to be able to get you out of basics. I think you only have 2 basics left in your deck. Actually, he has deck lists. He knows there's 2 basics left. I might go ahead and attack that angle.
That would be super mean, man. I mean, I've sat at the table and I've gotten Ghost Quartered out of a game before, and I'm just
there it is.
Okay. Toru is really ready to put the punishment down.
Yeah, Toru knows how he needs to attack this matchup, and that is go after Utah's mana. This Grixis deck, it is so powerful if it can get off the ground, but some of the spells are real clunky. Like playing Baleful Strix and Kolaghan's Command when you're getting wasted every other turn is difficult.
Man. Just brutal. Especially like Ghost Quarter on your upkeep, and then when you get land, I'm going to tap down with my Rishadan port. It's so insane.
And then you get to port it down. So yeah, that looks like there's going to be 6 lands in hand for Toru, so no spells here. That crop rotation is the last one. And that's one of the things about these lands decks is that they kind of dump their good cards out early because their good cards are all pretty cheap. Their cards like Exploration and Mana Bond and Mox Diamond. Yeah. And so not being able to Thoughtseize them from the battlefield is
I'm
tough.
looking at I'm looking at Yuta's hand right now, or Yuta's deck, I should say, in his main deck, and it doesn't really look like he's got a good solid way. I mean, obviously, there's not going to be a lot of graveyard interaction, or the only thing he can really do is start forcing those life loans.
Yeah, and I think he might have to start doing that. Really, his only options post-board are the Blood Moons to go after non-basic lands and the Surgicals to go after the Loams and the loan targets, and like that's kind of all he's got. His deck is not really primed to beat up on lands decks.
Yeah, so it certainly looks like these are kind of the matchups that Toru was thinking about. And that's a Grimag Angler.
Yeah, so Toru elected to use his Rishadan port this turn going after the island rather than using the Ghost Quarter first. I would have Ghost Quartered the island and say, what do you want to fetch? And then if he fetches the island, go ahead and port it. Otherwise, port just land.
Yuta just made a gesture over to one of the onlookers. I think it was probably one of the judges. He's just thinking, yeah, do you think you could do better sitting in this chair? And obviously the judge is like, well, no, I can't. You're getting crushed.
Yeah, he's been wow, he draws another basic, and that's pretty nice. He's really only got one island left in his deck. I think he's going to be able to play a Gurmag Angler here, but like Gurmag is not super exciting. Him to Torok doesn't really do anything here. Looks like Angler's coming down.
This is the Psy Angler.
Yeah. This is all, it's only a 5/5 for 2 mana. So unfair.
I hope this is good enough. Yuta with a cause for pause. He might just be burning off that Ghost Quarter here.
I'm surprised that Toru didn't already.
Yeah, me as well. Oh, he's going to untap.
Yeah, he's still holding off. Technically, you can always Ghost Quarter on the next turn and then loam it back and Ghost Quarter again. So you don't really miss out on a cycle by waiting.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess this lines up Toru to waste the island or Ghost Quarter the island and then loam it back and then Ghost Quarter the island that he fetches.
Yuta just looks like Toru just looks like he smelled something funny. He was like, oh man, it's getting a little stinky over here.
Yeah, he smelled how many basics Yuta has in his deck.
Smells like
Yuta
4.
Yuta is super calm this game. I'm surprised. Usually I'm on life tilt if I'm doing this in this scenario.
You can see your death over the course of the next 4 turns.
So it's Maze of Ith hitting the battlefield for Toru as well as another copy of Mox Diamond, so he's got access to a little bit more fast mana. But he did not dredge a loam that turn, so he can't use the second Ghost Quarter this turn, which is worth mentioning.
He's putting that Maze of Ith
for it, though.
Yeah. He's putting that Maze of Ith up in the combat zone like he's gonna block. He's like, block?
Maze of Ith blocks, that's what it do.
It really do. It really does do. Alright, no more basics in the deck for Yuta.
Yeah, Hymn to Torok is the only castable spell for Yuta, which is not super powerful versus a Life from the Loam deck. No spells left in Toru's hand, as Yuta already knows, so... there it is! Got him.
I'm blocking. This might just be a Hymn to Torok and then scoop him up, just give him the finger and then be like, alright, let's go to the next game.
Yeah, alright, we're done here.
Yeah.
Yuta's like, all right, I really got to roll well here. This is really my only chance.
These are really important. It's like when you activate Curse Scroll and you've got 3 cards in your hand, you're like, name Fire Blast. They're all Fire Blast.
Your opponent doesn't even know.
Especially when he's trying to block you with his Maze of Ith. Oh, no.
Connects with the spell.
Oh, Punishing Fire. That's a real winner.
Oh, there's a crop rotation in Toru's hand as well? Interesting.
Okay. Yuta not electing to test Toru if he knows how to activate his cards. And here's an untap.
That's a sick him. Looks like Dredge Loam this turn. Draw 3 cards, basically. Immediately recast. Gonna get back that Ghost Quarter, I imagine. Doesn't really matter what the other 3 cards are, or the other 2 cards are.
It doesn't. It's basically over at this point. And I will say that Toru did a good job navigating this game, even without exploration. A lot of times lands players will struggle because their land drops are essentially how they're advancing their board. But he's doing a good job in condensing the game and making it so Yuta does not have access to all of his mana, all of his resources, the things he wants to do at higher levels.
Definitely. And that's why cards like Exploration and Mana Bond and Mox Diamond are so powerful for lands, is because they allow them to circumvent the 1 land per turn rule. So a lot of these wasteland effects, they're able to go up on number of lands versus their opponents while still locking.
Exactly.
So it looks like that Life from the Loam got forced, so no Ghost Quarter back for Toru, which means Yuta will have blue mana for one more upkeep here.
I think Yuta's entering the Valley of Unhappiness right about now.
Yeah, I can't imagine Yuta's super excited about this game one. His deck is certainly not primed to win this matchup, so
Yeah.
I would have probably scooped a while ago. I probably would have scooped when I saw the Life from the Loam plus the Wasteland Ghost. Okay, Yuta's finally feeling the burn. He's been super chill all game up until this exact moment.
He's full on facepalm, like, oh, I can't believe I got this pairing. Why couldn't I have gotten a better pairing?
Oof, that's really all I can say.
Yeah, and Yuta's just like, yeah, man, you got a cool deck over there. How's your combo matchup? Toru's like, well, you're not playing combos, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah, I got 4 spheres. Hopefully I draw them when I need to.
Well, all right. I feel like sometimes when your opponent's giving you a little bit of action, you can kind of see that Toru's giving a little bit back. He's like, shuffle my deck. All right?
Yeah.
You're not going to attack. Shuffle my deck.
The ultimate diss, yeah. And another loam coming back here for Toru. And those pass an exploration. And let's see where Toru's going to go from here. Looks like it's loam time. That's where it is. Into the graveyard I go.
Yeah, you want to force this? You want to force? Got another.
How about this one? Yeah.
What's the double black counterspell? It's like
Imp's Mischief, I think, is one of them. That's the one that changes targets. Dash Hopes, yeah, that's the one that's counter. And then there's Temporal Manipulation or something like that in that cycle.
Well, you got the black. I would just ask my opponent, you got the black counter? I'll pay 5.
Yeah.
Oh.
There's the Ghost Quarter on the final island for Yuta. Yuta's not going to search because he knows he's going to fail to find.
He's just playing mono black now. He's like, oh.
Yeah. Toru is contractually obligated to remind Yuta that he's allowed to search. Even I always feel really bad when like both of us know that my opponent can't find, but I have to remind them. Temporal Extortion. There we go. That's the Planar Chaos one.
Sometimes it feels a little good though. You know, it's like, give up. Right? Come on.
A little Schadenfreude. Haha, my opponent can't search the library, but I better remind him that he can.
It's like, I see you have only 4 basics.
Yeah, and post-board, I think that Grixis certainly gets a few more tools to interact. They get Surgical Extraction to attack the Loam angle, they get Blood Moon to attack the lands angle, but that's kind of it. They don't really have any other tools they pick up, and lands gets to have cards like Choke, another red Elemental Blast, and grindier cards if they want them. I'd imagine Frozen Grip is coming in as well to protect against Blood Moon effects.
Yeah. And it's one of those things where if he just has one, if he finds his forest or if he has Mox Time in it all, it's like he's in good shape.
Yeah, he's in much better shape otherwise. It looks like a couple copies of Gamble and Crop Rotation coming out. Some of the more explosive effects are not as powerful post-board, where the matches are a little bit grindier. And what I've noticed about lands, I've played it a little bit recently, is that you're better off in a lot of post-board games drawing, hoping to draw something relevant, than you are loaming if you're behind on board. Cards like Frozen Grip and stuff don't really have any action if you dredge past them, so
yeah, I mean,
skipping your draw stuff is costly.
He's got a ton of super powerful cards here. I mean, he's got like 2 Tireless Trackers, 2 Corrosion Grips, 4 Sphere Resistance. I mean, like, all these cards are just very good versus his opponent. He doesn't have to bring in the Ancient Bridge because he doesn't need to like kind of rush it into play. He doesn't need to rush into Sphere Resistance, but it is like, I mean, Sphere is very potent, especially when your opponent's playing like 10 cantrips, right?
Oh yeah. There's certainly a lot of cards to attack, and it's nice because you have Sphere of Resistance, not actually for these Grixis control decks, but it's nice that they just incidentally get boarded in. You do want to be careful when playing land decks not to overboard. If you take out too many cards that are kind of your core plan and have a bunch of these sideboard cards, you end up in these scenarios where like you'll have a Sphere of Resistance and you'll have a Corrosion Grip, but your opponent has a Gurmag Angler and just kills you.
Yeah. It can be a little bit awkward, but I mean, honestly, like, I think one of the great things about lands is that it sets up its defensive position so easily, so early. You know, it just needs to play loam a couple times, and it's like, okay, I hit, all this giant stack of cards that are all important for not dying quickly.
Definitely,
and the threat diversity for the Grixis deck is really just I mean, he's got X2 Grimag, and he's really got to hope he has him.
Yeah, hope the Gurmag lands. Hope there's no Mazavith, so Gurmag can attack.
Yeah.
Deal 20 damage in 4 turns.
It's just really tough because the Jundi style 2-for-1, outvalue your opponent. Just kind of goes out the window when your opponent's drawing 3 cards a turn.
Oh yeah, definitely.
So,
that being said, Bitter Blossoms are being boarded in. I love Bitter Blossom in this matchup. It's kind of hard to attack with P-Fire Grove, just the tempo loss is pretty severe. For your opponent to spend 3 mana every turn to deal 1 damage. And it blocks Merit Lage, which is nice.
I kind of wonder, I mean, obviously, since they have access to deck lists, the Lance player is going to see and identify that Bitter Blossom is a possibility. If they were playing in the dark and my opponent played Bitter Blossom 1-2 and I was playing Lance, I'd be like, oh yeah, that card exists. And
yeah, you really don't want to K-Grip that either. You're like, what if I K-Grip this and he plays a Blood Moon next turn?
Yeah, like, if I'm thinking about Tabernacle versus Control, I'm like, is it good? Nah, not really, It's like it only attacks 1 or 2 creatures, so Tabernacle could be boarded out, but of course, if I see those Bitter Blossoms, I'm like, this card's staying in. I want this card here.
Yeah, so it looks like Chokes and K-Grips and Tireless Trackers, so the green cards are coming in, as well as the 1-of Red Elemental Blast to create some harmony with the Pyroblast that Takisaka has in his main deck. Now deciding what to board out. Looks like he's thinking about boarding out a Taiga. Nope, he decided not to board out the Taiga. I'm not sure what it is he boarded out. Quickly counting the sideboard, making sure there's 15.
He's not going for the fabled 14.
Yeah, the fabled 14 sideboard slots.
I'm missing one. You're going to have to guess which one it is.
Yeah.
You know what? His opponent just kind of overreacted when he was shuffling his deck. He's like, oh, I'm so dead.
I'm so dead. I'm pretty comfortable in this matchup post-board, I feel, as Grixis. You definitely have a lot of tools, so you got to hope you draw well, hope you play your cards well. But I think that this matchup is definitely winnable post-board, and it's definitely winnable 2 games in a row post-board as well.
Would you say 40-60, 45-55?
The numbers get a little bit weird because I feel like Lands has such a powerful, dominating presence in game 1, and so game 1 is guaranteed, and so now the matchup being even or a little bit favored for Grixis still means that Lands is going to win a lot of the matchups because Grixis just has to win, or Lands just has to win 1 of the post-board games over Grixis.
Yeah, and if they just hit one of their really awkward draws where they just straight up kill you on turn 2-3 or something, it's like, oh, make it 20-20, you're like, yep, I'm dead.
Yeah, when they're turn 1 exploration, wasteland you, you're in really bad shape. Doesn't really matter what your deck's doing. If that's what your opponent gets to attack you at, then you're going to fall apart pretty quickly.
Yeah, I will say the nutted hands from Lands are just so sick. They're so unbeatable. And the nutted hands from Grixis are him to Torok you twice. Ah!
Yeah, him you on 2, snap him you on 3. Is that good enough?
Yeah. Although, that would be pretty insane if you could snap him on 3. I'm just saying. But... all right.
It used to be like that back when we played Deathrite Shaman on turn 1. Because then you get to play him on 2 with Spell Piercer, Flusterstorm backup. Those were the good old days.
You know what? That's right. You're absolutely right because Deathrite Shaman, that's a fair card, and I'm glad they made it. So good.
You know what? It's surprising to me that Grixis is so prevalent nowadays because I feel like one of the reasons Grixis was so good was Deathrite Shaman existing, and so a lot of people were playing the deck because Deathrite Shaman existed, and then Deathrite Shaman got banned, and they're like, oh, this deck is still good. It's good.
It's still pretty good, actually. We can still do it. We're just gonna take this major piece, where we can gain life and kill our opponent and make mana, and we don't need that.
Yeah, getting back to the game, it looks like Yuta's hand is pretty stacked here. This is certainly what I'm looking for. We got a little bit of interaction in the Inquisition on turn 1 on the play. There's a Brainstorm and a Snapcaster Mage, as well as a Bitter Blossom. So definitely a hand that scales a little bit, as well as has early interaction. And I think that all really Takisaka has here is a Thoughtseize of his own. I think he might be holding 4 lands, or maybe it's even 5 lands. I'm not sure what the last spell is, though. Might be a Crop Rotation? Looks like a green card. Oh, maybe it's Sylvan Library?
I really like this Thoughtseize, especially because it kind of clears the way. If his mainline plan is just to jam Bitter Blossom into Prey, it's one of those cards. Yeah, he could use it to take a K-Grip or something, but yeah, man, that loam. He's probably going to use it to take Thoughtseize and then protect.
I'd definitely take Thoughtseize here, yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
If
taking
Yuta
Loam,
had
like,
a surgical, he'd be in pretty good shape taking the loam though.
yeah, so it's looking pretty good. I think was Taru just looking at like Yuta's sideboard and he like shuffled it a bunch. Like,
I mean,
oh, he shot
randomize these
that's his
cards
deck.
for you.
That's his
Oh,
deck.
gotcha. Yeah,
Okay,
off the
yeah.
fetch land. Yeah, makes sense. That makes more sense.
I was just super weirded out, and I'm like, there's not very many cards in that thing, but it's top down views, man.
Yeah, sometimes you lose that definition.
Yeah,
That third dimension.
Yes, but all right.
Yuta gonna really scribble out some names in Japanese.
Yeah.
Get those
yeah. He wrote next to Life from the Loam, extract this one.
Yeah, target this one with extract.
Yeah. All right.
And there's a couple wastelands in hand for Toru, but cannot be used. Cannot target basics. And Toru also doesn't know the context of Yuta's hand, and I believe that he's got another fetch land that can get a basic island. Bitter Blossom on 2 off 2 basics is a pretty good place to start in this matchup. Way better than we saw last game, which included a turn 1 wasteland, I believe, or turn 2 wasteland.
Turn 1 wasteland and just multiple cantrips in Yuta's hand that were like he needed to be able to play all of his cards and just couldn't get to that point. All right, here comes the big surprise. Taru's looking away. He's like, I'm going to sneak this card into play. You're not looking right now.
My opponent won't counter it in time if they're not looking.
And there's Bitter Blossom.
He's not even going to ask if it resolves. He's just going to try and pass the turn.
Yeah. He like looks back. There's like 3 cheaty faces in play.
That's what you got to do. You got to use cheaty faces as your fairy rogue tokens, and then go to combat, and then just like tell them they take 3.
One day, Josh.
The
All
dream.
right. And here comes a Refrain Port on upkeep, and let's get brainstorm response.
Yeah, so it looks like we got a few lands to put away. We have the fabled Double Bitter Blossom. I spent a lot of time playing in Lorwyn Standard, and you learn some things about how much you want to, when to play 2 Bitter Blossoms and when you die to 2 Bitter Blossoms. Kind of knowing that sweet spot is tough. I think this is a scenario where you want Double Bitter Blossom.
Yeah, baby. Get it going.
We're not playing...
what's that?
Was that an upkeep brainstorm? Oh, in response to the port. I see.
Yeah.
In response to the Rishidan port. That makes sense.
Listen, we're not putting Bitter Blossom in our deck to not play it, right? And if our opponent has Tabernacle, well, that really sucks.
Then we die, yeah.
Yeah, then we're dead. But listen, we go 1 speed.
We go 1 speed, and that is 1 damage to each of us every turn.
Yeah. Well, okay. I mean, the board grows for Yuta by 2 power each turn. And Toru, well, Maze of Ith not looking too good here.
Yeah, Maze of Ith not a solid answer, and Punishing Fire stops being a valid answer pretty quickly, even for a single Bitter Blossom. Just the kind of like tempo upkeep of forcing your opponent to spend 3 mana every turn on your 2 mana enchantment is like, that's like choke levels of equity almost. People think it's like, oh, I'm generating resources though because I'm not losing a card to play this Punishing Fire, and it's like,
not exactly. You're also giving your life point back, so it's like really, it's like super lose.
Yeah, exactly.
All right.
So it looks like Toru decided to waste the Underground Sea, and Toru is going to deploy a basic, it looks like here. Yes, he is.
That was a really aggressive, like, take that, you stupid fairy player.
Yeah. Goddamn fairy mains.
This, yeah. Listen, Final Destination only. All right.
No items.
Yeah, no items, 4 stocks, guys. And all right, Toru's gonna activate, and it's gonna be a swing for 1, I think.
Imagine man! Brainstorm in response to the upkeep. Rishidan port here. Bitter Blossom has made the tokens, but Yuta hasn't drawn. Finds a red source, but no fetch land and no Blood Moon yet. And I think that's really what Yuta wants, because Yuta knows that the only thing he's actually not favored against in the scenario is the card Tabernacle. And so the easiest way to attack Tabernacle out of Yuta's deck, out of this Grixis control deck, is just to play Blood Moon, make it a mountain.
And I think like Tabernacle almost turns like these Bitter Blossoms into like some really absurd version of Sulfuric Vortex.
Yeah, an outrageously weird one-sided version.
Insane. Yeah. All right.
Another
And
land here for Yuta. Looks
oh
like it's
man,
going to be Gurmag time.
I really wanted it to be the third Bitter Blossom, but we can't have what we want. We
Can't
this.
always, yeah. He did not draw a card that is not in his sideboard.
Toru's like, when did this guy sideboard into Grixis Delver? All right, and he's fanning his hand. I mean, you know, making it 2020, that's something that he can do in the next couple turns, but...
Yeah, 2020 is not super exciting versus Bitter Blossom, especially with double Bitter Blossom.
Really unexciting, I'd have to say.
There's a Croson Grip for Toru, though, so he could elect to use that Croson Grip to go after one of these Bitter Blossoms, but the damage has kind of already been done. It's a little bit late to interact with them, I think. You need to hope that pressuring the life total is really what you want to win. You can't try and grind him out in this scenario.
Yeah, Toru was like one exploration away from having like a really outstanding hand, but it's just, I mean, the start from Yuto was just way too strong. I mean, he was able to take the discard spell into double Bitter Blossom. Like,
yeah, you know, I really don't like Toru's hand very much in this scenario. The hand he kept was like 5 lands, Thoughtseize, Life from the Loam, which is just like not the most interactive.
Yeah, it's basically saying, I hope you're on a control hand. I hope you're on Hymn to Torox, and I don't even know what else you could be on, but I hope you're on Hymn to Torox.
Definitely. So I like this. So in response to the port this time, Yuta is going to flash in a Snapcaster Mage, target that Brainstorm, but he's not going to cast it yet. He's going to go ahead and wait till his main phase. He's drawn his card for the turn. It was that Badlands that he put back last turn. Mainly it's just about making a body here and then kind of generating some equity later.
Yeah, certainly getting maximum value and kind of dodging that Rashad port as well, that tax effect. Brainstorm getting flashback here, and up we go.
Yeah, and Yuta basically just wanted to see an extra card with his Brainstorm cast timing. So there's a Surgical Extraction, which is one of the many interaction pieces in this matchup.
I would just like show my opponent and be like, okay, come on. Let's go to the next one, man. I mean, especially because you're taking down the engine of Toru. I mean, it's not really a good position to be in already with the current board pressure that he's facing.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, he's just attacked for 8. Like,
yes, definitely. Get that clock in quickly. Minimize the number of turns Toru has to draw a Tabernacle, which, again, I think is really the only card that I think answers this board in any meaningful capacity.
Yeah, Tabernacle and other ways to find it, like crop rotation. But I thought did we see him side some out?
Oh, you know, he might have. I didn't really get to see what he boarded out. I wasn't really paying attention. They're all lands, so, you know, it's hard. How do you tell them apart?
They're all gray. It's just the frame is weird.
The frame is weird. Yeah, they're also old cards. That Tabernacle is ancient.
Yeah, for sure. And Yuta's thinking, man, like how... Oh, man, I really just want to win this game. And I hope my auto... Go ahead.
I was going to say that I think the order that he puts these cards back is not super relevant. He's Brainstorm locked, so he's going to be drawing all these cards anyways. Yeah. And so, like, in this scenario, the card that he puts on top is, like, basically irrelevant compared to the card in his hand. So there's a Dark Depth. So that's the 2 parts of the 2020. So Toru could make a Merit Lage here if he'd like.
Man, if Toru plays Raincore, I'm just gonna lose my mind.
Yeah, dude.
Not that it's in his deck, but it was cool to see it last round. For sure.
Yeah, definitely. It'd be nice if the card was relevant.
Yeah.
I think there might also be an Edict in hand for Yuta, so able to answer the 2020.
Yeah, it looks like he's attacking around the 2020 right now.
Yeah, he's like, nice 2020. Spend 2 of your lands to go ahead and make a 2020.
Yeah, and
there's the Edict.
Oh.
And game. All right, going to game 3. Yuta able to close out game 2 with the double Bitter Blossom, Diabolic Edict, Blackened 1 spell. Sweet.
Yeah, I mean, that card's super old school, but of course very relevant in today's meta. I mean,
yeah, it's definitely come back into vogue. I feel like there was a period where it was pretty soft. I feel like there was a period where, like, Lingering Souls was a pretty common card in Legacy, and so, like, you didn't want to play Diabolic Edict in case you ran into a Lingering Souls.
Yeah, circa, like, 5 years ago. But I will say that, you know, like, Liliana the Veil has been around for a while, and that card is either, like, really fantastic and hits the right notes when you play it, or like you played against elves, and you're just like, this is the most embarrassing card in my deck right now.
Yeah, I can't believe I just spent 3 mana on this guy.
Yeah, 3 mana on this card.
it's weird because of kind of the dichotomy between Liliana of the Veil and Liliana Last Hope. They do like so drastically
Oh,
different things, and like in
yes.
conjunction, they like each cover up the exact like weak points of the other one almost like perfectly. It's like they're like made perfectly for each other in a meta to give you optionality on your 3-drop slot that also happens to be between the same Planeswalker name.
Yeah, it's like minus to like, or plus to like discard cards, and the other one is like minus to get cards back from your graveyards. What the heck?
Yeah,
man?
it's like in case you just need to get a little bit more equity, then like here you go. Especially if you can combo with cards like Baleful Strix and Snapcaster Mage that replace themselves, you get so much equity out of these Liliana activations.
Yeah, I mean, there'll be a world when it's like I'm gonna play like if you have a format where you're playing 4 Goblin Rabblemaster and 4 Legion Warboss, where's my format where I'm playing 4 Liliana and 4 Liliana Last Hope?
Yeah, exactly. I don't know if there'd be a meta where 4 of both of those would be played. If that makes sense. Like if a deck is if a meta is cold to Liliana of the Veil and you play 4 of them, it's probably not also cold to Liliana of the Last Hope, so you'd play 4 of them.
Do you remember the Jund traditionally played 4X? Not that deck's in existence anymore, but
Yeah, ever since Deathrite Shaman banning and
yeah.
Agrolome existing, kind of. But yeah, that played 4 Liliana of the Veil. I don't think it played any Last Hope though. Maybe like 1 or 2.
All right, and it looks like we're gearing up for game number 3 in this top 8 series.
Where did our player go?
He went to the restroom.
Oh my god, that shirt says Bake Hustlin'. That is an awesome shirt. Man, the shirts
got,
of this Grand Prix have been fantastic.
He's holding like 2 loaves of bread. Do you
Yeah,
see that?
dude.
Oh, that's so
cool,
good.
dude.
Yo. Oh, he's got a magic school? Oh, man.
Taught him how to play that Batter Skull for sure, which is currently getting blocked out by a True Name Nemesis.
Yeah, I saw this. I was trying to figure out what matchups were going to be in top 8, and obviously this is a challenging one. This is not anyone's favorite.
Yeah, is that a Blade Mirror? Is that what's going on there? Is that the blue-white Blade versus just traditional Blade?
No, this is Blade versus Grixis Control.
Oh, is it first Grixis? Oh, gotcha.
Yeah. It's all about that Colgan's command.
Yeah, definitely. Making sure to use your Batter Skull in safe ways, like only deploying it when you have 5 mana off a Stoneforge. So you can bounce it back to your hand if they have the K command. Because otherwise they just like kill your Batter Skull, kill your Stoneforge, and you're just like, oh well, I guess I may as well concede at this point.
Yeah, and you have to keep like extra cards in your hand when they K command you, so you have extra stuff to discard. Otherwise it's like shatter and make you discard, and you're like, I hate my life.
Yeah, and then they him you and you're like, wow, I hate my life. And they Snapcaster Colgan's command you and like, wow, really,
this
hate my
is
life.
Great. This is really good. I'm really enjoying this interaction right here. But one day, Divert will make a comeback, and we'll see who's laughing when you him yourself. We'll see, Josh.
Exactly.
We'll see.
Maybe one day. I'd be excited.
Anyways, all right, we're seeing a shuffle up. Looks like both players are ready to go. The Grixis player looks refreshed. Maybe not. I don't know. His sleeves are weird. What's going on with those?
I think they got dragons on him.
Yeah, but he's playing Grixis, man. I don't know. I don't think of a dragon when I think of Grixis.
Yeah, I mean, I think that there's a couple dragons from Grixis, but yeah, they're kind of like undead zombie dragons, so...
Go Bolus or something?
Yeah, you know what? Yeah, absolutely. I forgot. He's a dragon.
Croesus the Purger?
Mm-hmm. I'm trying to think. There's definitely a dragon with Unearth, and there's also some, like, Infect dragons that I feel look like they're from Grixis.
Yeah, like
Skithrix.
That card's sick.
Mm-hmm. It's a fun name to say.
Absolutely. All right.
So yeah, we're going into game 3 here between Yuta and Takisaka. Yuta on Grixis Control versus Takisaka on his lands deck that we saw with a main deck Pyroblast. Didn't come up in that game, but wish it would have.
Yeah, pretty spicy. It's always nice when you're like techie one-ofs in your main deck work out, and you're like, yes, it freed up a sideboard slot too.
Yeah, I get to play one more sideboard card.
It was impactful in these matchups that I wanted it to be.
Yeah, I mean, I think he called the meta pretty well. There's a lot of other decks in the top 8 that have some blue cantrips that want to get Pyroblasted.
Oh,
that's the reason. It's weird because that's one of the reasons why I'm never really too worried about that. Whoa, this is a powerful hand. Double Mock Diamond, double Sylvan Library, Choke. That's pretty powerful.
Yeah, this hand goes real fast, real quick. And, all right. I'm certainly liking the lands player's current position right now. Looks like he's going to go ahead and deploy Mox Diamond and a Sylvan Library.
I'd imagine that, yeah, Sylvan Library is coming down on 1.
He's just thinking.
And the library resolves, so no Force of Will from Yuta here. Does have a K command. It's got a surgical extraction. Not a ton of early action though. I don't think he's got any 1-mana spells besides the surgical.
Yeah, fetch land, the first land deployed for Yuta. Obviously, he's going to be looking to go ahead and grab basics early on. He doesn't want to get wastelanded out of this position.
Mm-hmm. And there's a Rishadan port, and this also protects against Rishadan port, which is nice.
Yeah. I think this choke is just going to get windmilled here.
Oh, absolutely. No question.
I mean, if you're...
Toru looks so dedicated to this. He is so prepared. He spent all his time and energy training to tap 3 mana sources to jam choke on turn 2.
Yeah, that is, I mean, that's the one right there. And if you're Yuta, you're thinking, man, I really wish that Grixis had ways to answer enchantments in my deck.
Yeah, Yuta's like, hey, so I'm going to cast this Brainstorm, and it's going to draw me a Force of Will. Otherwise, I lose.
Yeah, otherwise I'm going to be in really bad shape and, disenchant. What's that card?
Yeah, Grixis, not known for its artifact, or its enchantment interaction. Does have a few artifacts.
Well, it's time to find it's force or bust here. This is for to stay alive, I think. It is.
The drain. The drain storm.
Now, do you just auto scoop him up if you don't hit the force?
Yeah, I don't want to put cards back on top of my library, so I think I'd rather concede. Maybe not though. Maybe you're in top 8, so you got to give him a show. He does hit a fetch land that grabs a swamp at least, which is a start.
There's a Spell Pierce, which is just the saddest.
Yeah, that is not fun. He's like, I even bluffed the Spell Pierce, and now it's too late.
I love how the camera zoomed in, you're dead.
You're dead, son.
Yeah, this is a tough situation to be in for sure.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure this game, the writing has already been written in spray paint on the wall. It's not really coming off easy. It's already dried.
Yeah, and even if Yuta finds enough lands to cast his Blood Moon, he's still just never going to be able to get that choke off the board. It's there forever, honestly.
Yeah, choke is just such an unfun card to play against. It's kind of like Blood Moon, only Blood Moon attacks you for not understanding how to fetch basics. Choke is just like, hey, get wrecked, blue mages. Taste.
Yeah, sure.
Mox Diamond and Sylvan Library, the last 2 cards in Toru's hand, both are basically irrelevant at this point. I guess Mox has marginal equity, but really nothing significant.
Yuta leaning over it really matters.
Yeah, I really got to make a tough decision about this. And so I think Yuta could have thought seized on turn 1. I'm not 100% sure if it was in his opener or not.
Oh man, it's tough because I think you would just burn it, right? But
yeah,
if he had it, what's Toru doing? He's gesturing. He's like, first off, you're gonna lose to this card. And he's pointing at Sylvan Library.
Yeah.
Then I played choke, and now your lands don't tap.
Oh yeah.
Yuta's like, what do those cards do? I can't read them.
So yeah, players in chat are asking about double Sylvan Library, and it is a triggered ability, so they do resolve one at a time. If there's a fetch land that you can crack in between them, you can do some fancy stuff.
Ooh, that's weird. And of course, that's only a situation you'd get into if you played more than one Sylvan Library, which I don't think any reasonable person would do, but apparently Yuta does.
Yeah, usually Sylvan Library is pretty good at making you not draw other copies of Sylvan Library. You can kind of stack your deck and get rid of them.
Yeah.
Sometimes you have 2 in the open and you're like, well, let's see if my opponent has a counterspell.
I mean, honestly, it's really good counterspell bait because a lot of blue decks just can't beat that card anyways. So, but I mean, Yuta is just kind of facing down these 2 enchantments. I mean, they're gonna do them in for sure.
Definitely. Yeah, Yuta needs to decide if he wants to use this island as a Lotus Petal to cast a cantrip or a Spell Pierce potentially. With Rishadan Port in play, you're never going to keep lands up. So
oh my god, Rishadan Port.
To win this game, Yuta needs to draw his other swamp and then draw Bitter Blossom and then draw another land.
The play that Yuta's about to make is one of those plays where you're just like, you know what, man? If I win with the Snapcaster Mage, like, that's his only option, right? That's his only line.
Pretty much, yeah. So Wasteland is the draw here, or Fetchland is the draw here for Toru. He wants to get rid of the other 2 mana sources. Oh, he actually is going to go after the Port. Yeah, so Port is a second copy of Port. I think actually makes it so Yuta will never be able to play Bitter Blossom for the rest of the game.
Yeah, and that's of course a key card and is important. But is he going to take 4?
I guess. I don't think he needs to. I mean, I think you can just take the Port if you want it, or you can take the Shuffle effect, get rid of the other mana sources, and say, let me dig.
Glimmers of hope, potentially. If you're thinking, I mean, if your opponent just takes too much damage, you draw Lightning Bolt. It's like, hey, man, you did it to yourself. But, I mean, Toru's just in such a commanding lead right now. There's really nothing that Yuta can draw or Yuta can do.
Yeah, so Toru is going to elect to play the Rishidan Port, and then he drew the extra card that's a land to discard it to the Mox Diamond, so he has an extra Mox Diamond in play. Yeah. So let's see. Toru's in a situation where he can Rishidan Port here, and then make a 20/20, which is pretty relevant.
Oh, I heard those are pretty strong.
They ain't bad, you know?
Yeah.
They ain't bad. And this stops Yuta from being able to have like a Diabolic Edict or something like that as a potential answer. So quick work of that game, that match from Toru. That hand was just insane.